It is one of my favorite days of the year, March 19th, right around the corner, which means it is time for some St. Joseph Zeppole. Zeppole San Giuseppe. It's also known as Italian Father's Day. And this day just could not simply get by, or we could not have this entire day of celebration without king of desserts for this particular holiday, which are St. Joseph Zeppoles, which are very simple and easy. I've shared with you how to make these years and years and years ago. They did need to be revamped, just updated. The updated recipe with both methods is in my cookbook, but I figured I would share it with you here. But let's roll right into it. Easy and simple. There's a couple components: the actual Zeppole itself, the shell, and then the custard. So we're gonna get started right away. I've got some sauce, please. I've got some milk in a saucepan. To that milk, I'm gonna add just like a strip or two of orange or lemon. Doesn't matter. Typically I use lemon. Sometimes I use orange. It just really depends. A little citrus. And it just infuses that milk really nicely. I'm just gonna do 2 really nice long pieces. It won't be overly lemony. It will hardly even have like a citrus flavor, but it will just sort of infuse it with that little freshness and scent that is so heavenly. In a small bowl, I've got egg yolks. To those egg yolks, I am going to add sugar. I'm also going to add some vanilla extract. Now, if you're using a vanilla bean, which I love to use, you're going to want to add it to the milk to infuse. If you're using Italian vanilla powder, you can just use it here and you're good to go. I'm also going to add just a small pinch of salt, really, really important with desserts because salt is a flavor enhancer. Just like it does in savory things, it does the same thing in sweet dishes. It just brings out the flavor of anything that you're adding it to. I'm going to use a handheld whisk because I need to whisk this pretty well until the egg yolks are really frothy, doubled in volume, and I'll show you what they look like when they're there. Those look gorgeous. I'm going to go ahead and add my flour and some cornstarch. The cornstarch is really pivotal here, I think, to give your cream real stability, because otherwise if the custard is too runny, it's not going to hold in your Zeppole. So don't skip that. And I'm just going to whisk this in. It's going to look like it's never going to combine, but it will. It'll be really thick at first, but it will. Now at this point, I'm just going to drizzle in a little bit of my hot milk to temper those egg yolks, about a cup or so. We do that so when we add this mixture to our hot milk that's up to a simmer, your egg yolks are not going to scramble or anything like that. Now, as soon as the cornstarch hits the heat, it's going to start immediately thickening. But that doesn't mean your custard is ready because you actually need to cook the flour and the eggs and everything. So it'll take a solid like 5 to 7 minutes. I always use 7 minutes on a very gentle heat. I'm using a heat-proof spatula, and I'm going to also switch back and forth to a silicone whisk. And I'm just going to cook this whisking until I feel like it's ready and done. I'm also going to wash that bowl because I'm going to use the same bowl to store this in. So just on a gentle heat, don't crank the heat up because all you'll do is scorch the bottom of your custard, which nobody wants that. So let's just let that go. All right, custard is ready. Now I took my orange out, and I'm also not going to strain it because I feel pretty confident that I didn't scramble anything and everything looks fantastic. I cooked it for 7 minutes and it's gorgeous. Look at that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this with some plastic wrap. I'll make sure that the plastic wrap is touching the custard itself so that it prevents it from growing, like from forming that like really weird skin. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm just going to pop this into the fridge. You want this to be, it doesn't have to be necessarily really cold. It just needs to be room temperature. You can't use it while it's hot. And then in the meantime, we're going to make the Zeppole. And this is your cook's treat. I'm gonna wash my pan because I need to use it. We are gonna make the shell, the actual Zeppole, okay? So you need water. To that, you're going to add sugar, stick of butter, unsalted. I always use unsalted because I like to control the amount of salt that I use. Small pinch of salt. Optional. I like it, a little lemon or orange zest, whichever you use for your custard. Add a little bit to this. It just gives your shell a beautiful light aroma. It doesn't have to be a lot because you obviously don't want this to taste like full citrus, but just a tiny touch does such beautiful things for this. I'm just gonna grab a wooden spoon, and at this point all I'm gonna do is just let the butter melt, the sugar melt, and this has to come to a boil. Mixture is up to a boil. I'm gonna actually add the flour in and turn this off, and I want you to see what happens. This is really important because as you're mixing it, you're kind of like not sure what's happening, but look how it starts out really liquidy, then it gets really clumpy, and as you keep mixing it, it's gonna start to dry out, and you'll see it'll just form into like a really thick, almost like a, see? That is what you're looking for, almost like a paste. That is what you're looking for, and it happens quickly, but make sure you turn the heat off. You can also just grab a pinch, and if it kind of holds together like that, then you know it's done. It's ready, I should say. Okay, now this is really, really hot. You need to cool it off, and the best way to do it is if you're doing this in a standing mixer, use a paddle attachment. It's just kind of hard for me to show you because my mixer here, down here, does not have a clear bowl. I'm just gonna go ahead and cool it off by whisking it with my mixer here, just to incorporate some air in there. Pop it cool off. That is good. Now, one at a time, really, really important. You do this one at a time. You're gonna go ahead and incorporate 3 eggs, okay? So, one incorporated. You're gonna add your second one. That is what your batter should look like. Now I'm gonna just go ahead and set this aside for a second. I've got my oven preheated to 375. I'm gonna get a piping bag ready, and I'm gonna go ahead and just use a really large star tip because I love you. You're important to me. I have to show you how to make these both ways. You can bake them or you can fry them. I'll show you both ways. I'll give you my tips and tricks. Traditionally, my whole life, these have always been fried, but over the last 10 years or so, a lot of bakery in Italy will bake them. And so I'm gonna show you both ways because, you know, I want you to have options. I want you to have choices. And so you wanna see them how they're both made? I'll show you how they're both made. So let me get my piping bag ready and then I'll show you. I've got a disposable piping bag ready. My piping bags are a little bit small, so I'll just do some at a time. This is gonna make about 12, I would say small to medium Zeppole. To me, they're pretty perfect because too big and it's kind of like difficult to really enjoy them. Because otherwise it's too much. Now, this is the baking sheet that's gonna go into the oven. Your parchment paper kind of wobbles a little. Take a tiniest bit of batter, just a tiny, tiny bit. Put it down in each corner, and that just keeps your parchment paper stable so that as you are piping these, the parchment paper should not move. And I'll show you how to roll them. I'll show you how to pipe them. Okay. You're gonna do a little circle like that, and you're gonna go twice up. See that? Just like that, like a little perfect little nest. Do another one. There's your last one. Now, if you want to make them bigger, you're just going to get less of them. But I want to get 6 and 6. And then I just take a little bit of egg wash, which is just 1 egg beaten with just the tiniest splash of water or milk. Brush the tops like that. And these are going to go into a preheated oven at 375 for about 35 minutes. And if some of them are like a little bit oval, like this one's a little oval, just help it out. There we go. There we go. And it makes their perfection. Into the oven, and then we're gonna make the fried ones. Now, to make the fried ones, you're gonna need some squares of parchment paper. Clearly I made that one a little bit small and these a little bit too big, but it's okay. Now, like I said, this makes about 6. So you're gonna need about 6 squares of parchment paper, because when you, don't worry that they're not perfect. It's really, really fine. You're gonna do the same thing. A little parchment paper behind that. You're gonna add a little bit of that dough or batter or whatever. Otherwise, they're gonna move around all over the place and it's really annoying, because this is how you are going to lift them into the hot oil. And then the hot oil like peels right off the parchment paper. It's quite literally, I did this backwards, so put another piece down. It's quite literally the only way to get these into the oil. So it's a step you cannot skip, and it's easy peasy, and it's gonna be great. So now that those are ready, I'm going to fill, I've got my oil coming to temperature to 350. This, I actually fried a batch earlier. That is why I've used this oil in this pan already, and it's perfect. And I'm just gonna fill up my piping bag. You're gonna do exactly the same thing as you did to the baked ones, but you're not gonna add any egg wash. Oil is ready. My beautiful Zeppole are perfectly formed, and this is how you do it. You pick them up like so, okay? Head down. I do a few at a time. The oil is ready, trust me. Do 3 at a time for a small little skillet like this one, and then look what happens. See? And they just take maybe like, I don't know, a minute and a half per side. And I have a rack here just because I want that oil to drain immediately, but they're perfect. About a minute and a half per side. You can hang with me if you want. How are you? How was your March? Did you know spring is around the corner? Did you know Easter is running around the corner? What are you preparing for Easter? Are you doing a ham? Are you doing a lamb? Are you doing a lasagna? What are you doing for Easter? Tell me, because I'm actually quite lost. It's, you know, it's an exciting time of the year. We're about to come alive again. I'll just meet you in a second. In a second. My shells are all done. These are the baked ones. These are the fried ones. They've cooled completely. They're gorgeous. Now, like I told you, they are small because I prefer to make a dozen smaller ones rather than 8 or 9 really big ones, but that's up to you. Like if you want them to be big, just make them bigger. I've got some piping bags with the same star tip that I used to form the shells, and I also have a smaller little star tip for the top. I just find it easier to use a smaller one for the top. I've got my custard, and it is gorgeous. It's cooled pretty much to room temperature, I would say. I really should have a big spoon for this, but you know how I like to make things difficult for myself, because you know, it is what it is. And the custard smells sensational, beautiful and gorgeous. And I'm just gonna get that in there. And let me show you how this is gonna go. We'll just do 1 and 1 first, okay? Oh, it's nice and airy in there. That is perfect. That is perfect. Okay, calm down. Calm down. Oh, they're gorgeous. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're beautiful. And then this is what you do. I actually like to do it on the platter. I'll do them side by side so you can see. Custard. Look at that. Gorgeous. It's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of absolute beauty. And then, you know what? Let me play with fire here and use a big piping bag for the top too. The big start tip. I typically like a smaller one, but that's okay. And then you need a little amarena. These are Italian cherries. They're like a bittersweet cherry. You could do 1 or multiples. It's up to you. They're like a little bittersweet cherry that's in syrup, and they're sensational. Yes, that syrup is meant to dribble down like that. You could do 2 or 3, depending on where you go. If you can find a really small amarenas, then you'll do a few. And then a dusting of powdered sugar. And they're gorgeous. I'm gonna continue to do the rest of them, and then you can see what they all look like. They're done and they're beautiful, complete with a gold tray. That has seen better days, but you know, what do you know? What do you know? I gotta try one. What do you know? I don't even know. You know, I don't even know. But they're gorgeous. I mean, look at this. Look how beautiful. I don't want to mess with them because they'll just get destroyed. They're perfect. I'm just gonna cut into this because you know what? I live dangerously. I'm taking the cherry off because it's gonna go up my nose. Look at that. This feels like an intimate moment. They are sensational. They're really not difficult to make. They require a little bit of time, all of which is so worth it. Delicious. Go to laurainthekitchen.com with a recipe. I got nothing. Enjoy your St. Joseph Day. And if you're not a Joseph, enjoy a Zeppole. I see you next time. Bye-bye. Enjoy.